And the mayor brought the same message of transparency and accessibility to a recent Chamber of Commerce event in the Valley, telling local business owners City Hall is open to them and their suggestions. Rasha Goel has more.
While he's attended the San Fernando Valley Chamber of Commerce luncheon numerous times in the past, this is the first time Eric Garcetti is speaking at the event as the mayor of Los Angeles. Business owners were eager to hear from him on some key issues.
I think jobs, his plans for expansion, growth, and how does the city improve itself for the next generation.
Fixing our streets, our sidewalks, tree trimming, keeping our utilities costs under control, being open for business.
And Mayor Eric Garcetti addressed those issues and others during this Woodland Hills event.
How do we create better pathways in education to prepare students for those jobs that are here? Oftentimes firms here can't find the right employees because we don't have the skills of being trained, being taught in the schools. It's going to be important to sell and to market the San Fernando Valley as a great place to do business.
One of the important things the mayor emphasized was the creation of relationships between entrepreneurs and their elected officials. He assured the business community he was creating more accessibility to City Hall.
When they pick up the phone and need the city, whether it's DWP, whether it's building and safety, whether it's planning, they run into too many roadblocks. Oftentimes we act as the ones enforcing rules instead of helping them open a business, and I want to change that culture.
The San Fernando Valley, if it were a city, would be the 6th largest city in the U.S.
The backbone of the city is the San Fernando Valley. It's the economic engine. It's where everything happens.
The business community hopes that through strengthening ties with City Hall, the economic engine will continue to thrive. In Woodland Hills, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
United Chambers of the San Fernando Valley and region includes 32 business organizations and other smaller chambers. Our next story is all about maximizing your utility savings. The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power has teamed up with the gas company to help their qualifying customers save on several utility bills. The Los Angeles Business Council, the LA Department of Water and Power, and Southern California Gas Company joined forces to host a workshop to introduce some potentially cost-saving information to their commercial and industrial customers. And those customers were all ears.
I'm learning what kind of incentives, financial incentives, the LA DWP and Southern California Gas Company have for commercial buildings to make them more energy efficient.
At this workshop held at the SoCal Gas headquarters on West 5th Street, utility leaders explained there are 9 new energy efficiency incentives programs as a result of a new partnership between LADWP and SoCal Gas, formed at the end of 2012. And the message seems to be double dipping encouraged.
Often an energy efficiency measure or project for a customer has the opportunity to save both electricity and natural gas. And given that, we've joined our resources together to help customers do those projects where they can get those joint benefits.
And that means the potential of saving on your water, electric, sewer, and gas bills.
In particular, we have a program called Savings by Design that is to promote energy efficiency above Title 24 building codes for new construction or major renovations. This is a program that has been available in the rest of California for several years, but has not been available in Los Angeles until this year.
So before you purchase that new air conditioning system or kitchen equipment for your business, your utility companies are making it that much easier to do your research and to save. Some programs are run by the LADWP on behalf of SoCal Gas, where other programs are run by SoCal Gas on behalf of LADWP. So customers need only apply once per program to qualify for incentives from both utilities. Well, it's been a critical month when it comes to the city's efforts to revive the LA River. With 4 plans on the table, one in particular is creating quite a splash. Anita Bennett reports.
For years, it's been debated how best to restore the LA River. Now there's one plan that's gaining support from Los Angeles residents and its leaders.
We now have over 4,500 people in Los Angeles who have signed a petition. I can't remember the last time 4,500 people in Los Angeles agreed on anything, but who have said we want to make sure option 20 is the one that we enact on the banks of our founding river.
The Army Corps of Engineers is considering 4 plans to improve access to the river and restore an 11-mile stretch between downtown and Griffith Park. Alternative 20 is the most expensive with a proposed cost of $1 billion, but it's also the most comprehensive. At a recent public forum in Los Angeles, the plan received widespread support.
There is nothing more important for us economically and for the acquisition and expansion of green space than to do this project and to do it right.
It can be done. This leadership here is going to make it happen. Everyone should be involved because it's our turn. It's our turn for this big project.
It's a project that many in LA say makes the most sense. I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
And the mayor called for further support of Alternative 20 at an LA River fundraiser. An old city pool gets some work done. Also, a council member wants to ban alcohol ads on city property. These stories and more in City Beat. The mayor, along with former council member Ed Reyes, a huge advocate of restoring the LA River, attended the annual Let's Talk River fundraiser held at the LA River and Garden Center. Garcetti and the LA City Council in August officially backed the $1 billion Alternative 20, the most expensive and comprehensive of 4 LA River revitalization options being considered by Congress.
We've fought and thought, we've met, we've convened too long for us to settle for something that is just part way.
Mayor Garcetti was in Washington, D.C. last week to make it clear to lawmakers that L.A. deserves Alternative 20, which would return sections of the river from Griffith Park to downtown to its natural state. Councilmember Joe Buscaino joined Recreation and Parks and the Bureau of Engineering officials in Watts recently to break ground on the 109th Street Pool project at the 109th Street Recreation Center. The existing deteriorated swimming pool and bathhouse will be demolished and replaced with new ones.
In 2004, we did a study that looked at all our pools, and we felt this was critical to the community based on equity and use. Unfortunately, in 2007, the funding we had was taken away, and now we're here today because of the savings in the department. We're going to have a brand new pool for this community.
Rec and Parks officials say the average age of the city's pools is around 60 years old, and most need to be replaced. Councilmember Paul Koretz is renewing the call to pass an ordinance banning alcohol ads on LA City property. That includes buses, bus shelters, and street furniture. Supporters of this ban say the city of Los Angeles should play a positive role in reducing exposure to alcohol ads to protect youth and reduce alcohol-related harm to all residents and visitors of the city. LA's Wilshire area showed its spirit and diversity at this annual police event. People came out for the LAPD Wilshire Division open house, a chance for the area's Chinese, Korean, and Orthodox Jewish communities to share cultures and cuisine. They also got a chance to mingle with LAPD officers who patrol their streets.
That's how we grow as a community, learning about different people, different lifestyles, and that's really what we hope to accomplish here today.
People also took home trees to plant and got a chance to check out new and vintage LAPD hardware. The LAPD's West Traffic Division co-hosted the event. Not everyone has had the pleasure of walking to school accompanied by the mayor, but that's exactly what happened one recent morning, with the mayor encouraging students to make exercise a regular part of their day. Students from Woodland Hills Calvert Charter for Enriched Studies and their parents were joined by school officials and none other than Mayor Eric Garcetti for the special Walk to School event dubbed the Walking School Bus.
This is an entire month celebrating walking to school. Walk to School Day is something in which we try to get people to be healthier. We try to make sure that they know that they can reduce traffic and congestion and pollution by actually just walking with their kids to school.
Los Angeles Unified School District Superintendent John Dacey also escorted the kids to school as a way to highlight the benefits of walking.
We have more than 50 schools where we've launched the Walk to School. It's an opportunity to really promote a safe way to get passage to school, fun, obviously a whole group of kids walking together, and healthy.
The ongoing Walk to School effort is part of the city's Safe Routes to School, or CERTS plan, which will initially focus on these 50 schools most in need of funding and programs to help increase the number of children who safely walk, bike, skate, or take transit to school.
We're going to also ensure safe routes to schools, which is something the city has always done to help the school district with crossing guards that the city pays for, with making sure that we know that they are going to be safe walking to school.
It's really important to engage our families and our children to be healthy, and this is a great partnership between the city and LAUSD.
At least one set of parents says walking to and from school has another added benefit.
When I can, I do walk to pick him up and take him to school because the parking's terrible.
Whether it's to avoid a crowded school parking lot or to better you and your child's health, school and city officials encourage families to leave the car behind and make the walk to school a part of their daily routine. In this week's list of things to do, a Veterans Appreciation Festival at the USS Iowa, an LA Conservancy tour of the Arts District, and an exhibit at the MoCA Grand Avenue. The City of Los Angeles and Battleship, Iowa present the second annual Veterans Appreciation Festival on Saturday, November 9th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The event is free with Battleship Iowa tours free for those with a military ID. The festival will feature live music, food trucks, children's activities, and a veterans resource fair. The Battleship USS Iowa is located at 250 South Harbor Boulevard in San Pedro. For parking and other information, go to portoflosangeles.org. The Los Angeles Conservancy has selected the Arts District downtown as the featured neighborhood of its annual one-time-only fall tour on Sunday, November 10th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The focus of the event is to highlight the history of the Arts District and how industrial buildings have been reused and adapted to meet changing needs over time. You'll also get to see some artists in their creative spaces as some studios will be open for the tour. Go to laconservancy.org for ticket prices and event details. And now on view at MoCA Grand Avenue is the exhibit Room to Live, showing until January 13th. With an emphasis on recent acquisitions, Room to Live features selected large-scale works or single artist presentations from MoCA's renowned permanent collection. The exhibit will include works in painting, sculpture, photography, installation, video, and slide projection. MoCA Grand Avenue is located at 250 South Grand Avenue downtown. Go to MoCA.org for museum hours. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. There's another exhibit you shouldn't miss. It's not in a museum. In fact, you can catch it just by walking the streets of one neighborhood. Gil Reyes takes us on a tour of this unique urban art show.
Electrifying Boyle Heights with vibrant colors are these newly painted utility boxes on East 1st Street.
And turn an ugly electrical box that sticks out of the sidewalk, obstructs us when we're walking, is an eyesore, into something beautiful that adds to the public art that we're trying to create here on 1st Street.
Councilman Jose Huizar, who's championed the city's mural movement, stops by to sample the works. This one by muralist Raul Gonzalez salutes his family's roots in mariachi music.
I wanted to give homage to my uncles. This is my uncle Rafael. He passed away last year, and this is his son Osvaldo. And around the corner, I have my mom. She passed away last year also. She was a singer.
The councilman's office hand-picked 9 local artists to repaint the electrical boxes to reflect the neighborhood.
I think that for me, the image of a mother or a grandmother is very symbolic to our culture. And for myself, I had a great experience with a great-grandmother, so I think it's important that I put that image up.
I just wanted to be free and playful with this, so I just put a lot of patterns and bees and butterflies and hummingbirds everywhere. I kind of went a little crazy with it.
It's the latest move in the revitalization of East 1st Street, which is undergoing the $12 million East Side Access project. The construction you see around here is aimed at improving bike and pedestrian access around the Metro Gold Line to help make the Boyle Heights Arts District more appealing to visitors.
We're going to put more public art on this street to appreciate art, talk about the history of Boyle Heights, and also to beautify it.
See for yourself on East 1st Street between Boyle and Soto Streets. In Boyle Heights, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The beautification will also take place further north, with more utility boxes repainted into artworks in the community of El Sereno. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
G'day, Troy McCubbin from North Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Call the members, have them report to the council chambers. I do want to take them. Sergeants, I need 2 members. Good morning, good morning. Shh. Good morning, it's Tuesday, November 5th. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council. The council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Everyone is welcome. Madam Clerk, I do believe we have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Huizar, Crest, Krikorian, Labange, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson. 10 members present, a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Martinez moves, Englander seconds. Next.
Committee to resolutions for approval.
Parks move, Price seconds.
Mr. President, today is Tuesday, and now would be the time for the flag salute.
Okay, if I could ask everyone to please rise. We'll be led today in our flag salute by Mr. Mitch O'Farrell.
Place your hand over your heart and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Madam Clerk, we should go through the agenda at this time.
Before we begin, Mr. President, there is a request to continue item 8 till tomorrow, November 6th.
Okay, without objection, that'll be the order.
Items 1 through 7 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Specials members, any specials members? I understand item 3 we may want to hold for Mr. Blumenfield.
Yeah, special.
Okay, so we'll hold item 3, and let's prepare to vote on the other items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, let's go through the next section.
Items 9 through 18 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are now before us. Do we have cards?
Cards on items 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
Okay, members, any specials? I don't see any. Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay. Next.
Item 19 is a closed session item. Do you wish to hold it on the desk?
For right now, we'll hold it. And then, Mr. City Attorney, maybe you and I can chat on that.
And also, Mr. President, for the record, item 9, that ordinance will be held over for a second reading for 1 week, if not reconsidered.
I understand. Okay, Mr. Bonin, Mr. O'Farrell, we have a very important, Madam Clerk. Oh, I missed, it's my understanding we have 2 more items. That's 20 and 21 on the supplemental?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay, Mr. Parks?
Continue number 20 to Tuesday, November 19th.
Okay, without objection, that'll be the order. That leaves us with item 21.
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay, so do we have cards on that item?
No cards.
Okay, so let's vote on that. Mr. Parks, your item has been continued. Oh.
And forthwith 18.
Okay, forthwith on item 18 for Mr. Parks. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
So now may I move, Madam City Clerk, to presentations. I want your permission. I don't care what the city attorney says, but I care a lot about what you say. Okay, Mr. Koretz?
Yes, if I could just have a moment, I wanted to introduce Joe Moore from Chicago. He's an alderman from the 49th District and chair of the City Council Committee on Human Relations.
Where is he? All right, hey, welcome. Welcome to Los Angeles. Mr. Labange.
The chance to meet Alderman Moore, and Windy City has 50 aldermen. But when he's outside Chicago, he tells people he's a councilman, because not everybody knows what alderman is. But it's great to have the city of Chicago here well represented. Nice to see you, councilman.
Thank you for that, Mr. Labange. And sometimes it's easier to just go out and say you're a council person. I don't know how many jurisdictions go by with or have odder people. Okay, so if I can get and we want to welcome our city controller, Ron Galperin, is with us today. Give Ron a round of applause. Good man, good controller. And if we could have Mr. Bonin and O'Farrell, and I would imagine our controller, for a special presentation.
Come on up.
Mr. President, colleagues, we honor 2 modern-day pioneers today, Jeff Zarrillo and Paul Katami, plaintiffs in the recent Supreme Court Prop 8 determination. Thank you for your attention this morning as we honor and celebrate our civil and human rights and the victory for the Prop 8 plaintiffs, Paul Katami and Jeff Zarrillo. Let's bring everyone up to speed on what's happened over the last decade or so. As you know, there's been a legal battle over the right to marry in California. This started back in January of 2000 when the state began registering domestic partners and allowing same-sex couples. In March of 2000, 61% of California voters said that marriage should remain between a man
and a woman. February of 2004, dozens of same-sex couples are married when San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom instructs city officials in San Francisco to issue marriage licenses. March of 2004, the California Supreme Court orders the city to stop marrying gay couples after nearly 4,000 received their licenses. In August of that year, the state Supreme Court rules that those licenses are void. December of that year, a San Francisco judge hears arguments that the current law defining marriage between a man and a woman is unconstitutional by denying couples the fundamental right to marry a person of their choice. Jump to May of 2008, the California Supreme Court rules that the state constitution protects the fundamental right to marry, and that should extend to same-sex couples. In June of 2008, the California Marriage Protection Act is submitted with over 1 million signatures and appears as Prop 8 on the November ballot. Prop 8 passes with 52% of the vote. On the same day that we elected our first African-American president, we deny same-sex couples their civil rights. In August of 2010, a U.S. District Court ruled Prop 8 is unconstitutional. In February of 2011, a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upholds an earlier ruling on Prop 8, though a stay on gay marriages remained. December of 2012, the Supreme Court announces that it will hear arguments in the Prop 8 case. In June of 2013, the Supreme Court rules against Prop 8 backers, making marriage legal once again in California. Thanks to the two men standing next to us this morning, gay men and women share marriage equality with the rest of the state of California. And while the And while Paul and Jeff exchanged their vows and celebrated with our former mayor, Antonio Villaraigosa, on his last day in office in a small ceremony here at City Hall last summer, my colleague, Mike Bonin, and I wanted to be sure that their efforts were recognized by this body of government representing the city of Los Angeles today. We're also joined by our city controller, Ron Galperin. My colleague, Mike Bonin, was also on the front lines of that battle, and it was important for both of us today to bring this to council today. Mike?
Thanks, my friend. Colleagues, this morning we're here to say thank you to Paul and to Jeff. And also to say thank you in absentia to Sandy and Chris, who were their co-plaintiffs in this case. A lot of times in a battle for social justice, in a battle for civil rights, the icons don't step up voluntarily. They're victims of something, or in the right place or the wrong place at the wrong time. Paul and Jeff volunteered for this battle. When our civil rights were stripped away by the voters of California 5 years ago, they said they weren't going to tolerate that. They sacrificed their time, their sleep, their privacy, their personal lives for me and for Mitch and for everyone in the state of California. They refused to be victims, and they refused to let the status quo be what it was. Not just the status quo of the law in California, not just the status quo of Prop 8, but quite frankly the status quo in the LGBT community that said, let's go slowly. Let's be careful here. We don't want to go to the Supreme Court. It could set things back. Chad Griffin, the folks at AFER, Chris and Sandy, and Paul and Jeff said no. We need to be bold. We need to be daring. I cannot overstate how grateful I am and how much of a debt the LGBT community owes to the four plaintiffs, including Paul and Jeff, for stepping up and being on the front lines. You were surrogates for all of us. You stood in for all of us. You were our soldiers. You were standing up not just for an ideal and not just for a civil right, but for love. And you can't stand up for anything bigger and better than that. Dr. King once said that the civil rights movement was going to keep on going until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty river, like a mighty stream. These are the guys who helped break the dam that was clogging up that water and stopping that mighty stream from going. Jeff and Paul, thank you.
Yes.
Round of applause.
Colleagues, our City Controller, Mr. Ron Galperin.
Good morning, Mr. President and Council members O'Farrell and Bonin and the rest of the Council members and all others who are assembled here. It's really an honor to be here with you this morning to honor Paul Katami and Jeff Cirillo. You really put yourselves out there, and your leadership is something that is going to be an example for generations to come. You truly are heroes and you truly are role models. And I have to say, I will always remember the day that you actually got married, because it was televised. And I remember being there with my own husband, and we were watching this and we were crying, because it was such a meaningful moment for us, as well as for Californians and for people all over the country and all over the world. Let me tell you, words matter. We've talked about civil unions, we've talked about domestic partnerships. Now, at least in California and a number of states, and hopefully the whole nation in the not-too-distant future, we have marriage. And it's inspiring to think how far we have come in this evolution. I remember even with my own now husband, who I've been with for 16 years, used to be boyfriend, partner, significant other, spouse, all these different terms. The fact that we can now say husband is absolutely powerful in so many different ways. And as a city, we are deeply grateful for the work that you have done. Having said this, the job is not at all done. Take a look at what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now with the discussion over what ought to be a no-brainer, the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, ENDA. And so we have to stand together here in Los Angeles, in California, in the whole nation, to stand up for the rights of everybody, because not until everybody has their rights in every single way can we truly rest. And that is for lesbians, for gays, for bisexuals, and for those who are transgender, who also really experience a tremendous amount of discrimination to this day. So thank you very, very much for all you've done. Thank you, by the way, to the attorneys who did an amazing job in this case, and for the opportunity to be here. Good morning.
Colleagues, it is our great honor to introduce to you Paul Katami and Jeff Cirillo.
Excuse me, thank you. What an honor it is to be here. And first, let me thank the entire LA City Council, and especially Mitch and Mike. It really means a lot. The current mayor is very supportive of us, as was the outgoing mayor, Villaraigosa. 4 months ago, almost to the day, we were here in his empty, barren office where they rolled up carpet, no paints on the wall, nothing. And he came off of his tour, a farewell tour to marry us, and we really appreciated that. And there's another person we'd like to thank, especially who's not here today. He's no longer a councilman, but Bill Rosendahl is someone who is a pioneer in this chamber. Who is a pioneer in this chamber for gay and lesbian equality, and will continue to do so. We wish him nothing but the best in his recovery. We also want to make sure we thank our attorneys that helped us, Ted Olson and David Boies, along with the American Foundation for Equal Rights, the amazing Chad Griffin, who is now head of the HRC campaign. You know, today is election day, and we can't remember how important elections are in America. 5 years ago, as Councilman O'Farrell just said, we elected our first African-American president, and what an amazing night that was. I remember sitting on the couch at a friend's house in South Pasadena, being so proud that we had done that. And then within hours, the returns for Prop 8 started to trickle in. We knew we were in trouble early on, and then when we saw that Prop 8 had passed, it was a very difficult moment for us and a very difficult moment for our community. But that was a watershed moment for our community as well. Look what's happened since the passage of Prop 8 and how much momentum we have gained through not just our lawsuit, but Edie Windsor and her lawsuit, and the ballot initiatives that we've won, and the legislative victories that we won. We have a lot of work to do. There's still many Americans who wake up in an unequal country. And I love that I live in a city as progressive and as equal as Los Angeles. And we thank everyone in this chamber for that, and we appreciate the honor. Thank you.
Mr. O'Farrell,
Yes, sir.
I have Mr. Blumenfield on the queue. If we could allow him to speak, Bob.
I just wanted to add my voice and appreciate and to add my voice to thank Paul and Jeff, specifically as the signs say, but also to thank our council members, O'Farrell and Bonin, to let you know that this isn't just, what you all have done isn't just a victory for the LGBT community. It really is a victory for society. It really is making our society better in so many ways. I want to live in a more equal society. It wasn't too long ago that my marriage to my wife, with a different race, wouldn't have been permitted under law. But folks stood up, and the community got together, and we all made a difference. I'm proud to be part of this. Sorry, I've got a cold here. Proud to be have worked on this issue for many years. Back in the 90s, on the first federal legislation dealing with sexual orientation as a protected class, and as some of my colleagues here, we were signatories to the amicus brief as legislators. But really what makes a difference is all of us coming together, and as was mentioned, the fight continues. We've got NDA moving forward and so many other battles for the LGBT community and for other disenfranchised communities. So thank you for what you do. Thank you, Paul and Jeff.
Mr. Labange.
Guys, Paul and Jeff, congratulations. Every day you got to work on it. I got to work on it too. So to have a partner, to have a wife, to have a husband, so important. But you mentioned Bill Rosendahl, a champion. And I also wanted to mention Jackie Goldberg, a champion. Joel Wax, a champion for the arts, and wasn't in a position at the time to be who he was until the time came. And I also want to mention Peggy Stevenson, who was the first councilwoman to hire someone who was gay in a staff, in a position. They had the first gay chief of staff. I think Newt Dieter was his name, if I remember right, and Larry Ray was the name of the fellow who lived in Atwater on Revere. And it was a big deal. This is in the 70s, a big deal. So it's so important that we reach this milestone in Mitch, to see you, to see Michael, to see Ron. It's so important, too, from the leadership of this city council. And the Deputy Mayor, Rick Jacobs, here sitting where he belongs in the front row. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Farrell, we'll go back to you at this time.
Sure, and before we present the certificate, I also want to recognize Rick Jacobs, another trailblazer in the movement, who has now decided to dedicate his life to public service as Deputy Chief of Staff for Mayor Eric Garcetti. So, Rick, congratulations. Thank you. Without further ado,
well, hold now. I've got Mr. Parks. Is that okay? No, so now we'll go back to you, Mr. O'Farrell.
We would like to present the certificate to you, gentlemen, on behalf of all of us in this chamber in the city of Los Angeles. We congratulate you. We appreciate all that you've done for the movement. You really are pioneers, and you've helped make the world a better place for all of us. So thank you.
Here you guys are. Yeah, you guys. Should we stand in front of the podium? Let's stand in front.
We can give him a better round of applause than that. Thank you. Thank you for making history. Madam City Attorney, you and I had a discussion about reconsidering, Madam City Clerk, about reconsidering, was it item 9?
Yes, item 9.
Okay, so on item 9, we'll vote for reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, and now since we do have 13 members, and this is an ordinance, let's re-vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Bob, you just have to signal when you're ready to move forward. Are you ready now? Okay, now we're going to go to item 3, which was called special by Mr. Blumenfield.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. My goal as the chair of the Innovation, Technology, and General Services Committee is to really bring Los Angeles into the 21st century, to just leapfrog over the the 20th century and as far as technology goes, move us forward to create better access, transparency, and efficiency. In order for Los Angeles to remain competitive, we must make critical investments, not just in our physical infrastructure, but in our virtual infrastructure. To that end, the proposal that's before us is about bringing free broadband municipal high-speed access to Los Angeles, to all of Los Angeles. And there are many reasons to do this, many reasons. One is, of course, helping bridge the digital divide. Another is generating economic activity and making our city even more friendly for tourism and bringing people here so that they can have all the comforts of internet access that provide a magnet for people to come visit, but also a magnet for people to invest their dollars to be in a city that's cutting edge like that. Also, we want to be able to bridge the digital divide, offer folks children to be able to work on those LAUSD iPads or other devices from their homes. It's great if they get iPads, but we want to make sure that they're able to have that access to the internet wherever they are. So working with the mayor and the ITA on Virgin, we're doing a number of other things to move us forward in terms of access. We're putting the 311 system on steroids. We're doing a lot of stuff. But the purpose of today is to talk about this Wi-Fi initiative because we're directing ITA to issue the RFP. The RFP is very important. It's a critical step. It's a milestone for us in this process. And with that, I want to bring Steve Reniker to the table, and I also wanted to ask the President, I know I've got some folks from neighborhood councils who've come, if we could open it up for public comment.
You want to do that now, or you want to do it after we talk?
Whatever your pleasure.
Let's get it out of the way now.
Okay.
Good to see you. We're going to go to the public comment cards. Kevin Taylor. Kevin, are you here? Please come forward. Sean Murphy. Sean. Donna Pearman. And then you guys will be followed by Mr. Herman. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. President, honorable council members. I'm the chairman of the Reseda Neighborhood Council. My name's Kevin Taylor. Several weeks ago, we took up this issue for Councilmember Blumenfield's initiative for citywide broadband access, and we had a spirited discussion. We had dozens, I'd say, of stakeholders there, as well as our board. We did take a position to support this. I would like to read the motion. The Reseda Neighborhood Council expresses support for Councilmember Bob Blumenfield's initiative, commonly known as Citywide Municipal Wi-Fi Initiative, to bring free broadband access to all parts of the city of Los Angeles. Additional support for effort to create fiber infrastructure for broadband access for every home and business in Los Angeles. While the exact parameters are currently in a research phase and the exact shape of the initiative is yet to be determined, Reseda Neighborhood Council supports Councilmember Blumenfield's proposition in principle to bring this game-changing effort to Los Angeles, to match other world-class cities and bridge the digital divide, increasing economic development, retain and attract business, and to enhance visitors' experience while in Los Angeles. So thank you, Councilmember Blumenfield, for bringing this forward. Just wanted to express our support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Murphy.
Yes, good morning. I'm for this project. We need redevelopment, and especially at the Valley Plaza of all of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Donna Pearman, followed by Mr. Herman.
Well, I like seeing Wi-Fi. That's a great thing to be able to have access. I also believe that you should still have video conferencing for Van Nuys. If you can bring this Wi-Fi all over the place, all over the city, and to be able to let people have access to broadcasting, certainly that must cost money there somewhere, even though it's free to us. Certainly you then also can come up with video conferencing for Van Nuys and video conferencing for San Pedro. So I don't tell me you don't have the money. This is just if there's access for broadcasting, certainly there's broadcasting to City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herman.
Can we correct our time, please? It's very fundamental. It's a right to have access to the responsibilities of what a city can provide for all of us, right? So as we look into the future with Wi-Fi, why can't we look at Van Nuys for the technology of bringing us broadcasting from Van Nuys? We have people there with disabilities. We have elderly people who cannot travel. But hopefully you will connect us with Wi-Fi so we can all be a part of this great family that Los Angeles is creating to connect and connect and connect with Wi-Fi. So it's most appropriate to say that yes, we are catching up with technology in Los Angeles. And for those of you who wish to conduct business in Los Angeles under a device of Wi-Fi, come to Los Angeles. Mr. Weezer will be glad to provide a permit.
Stay on the subject.
Right. So the fundamental right, as we speak and say, Mr. Bloomfield, is yes, we need to get accurate estimates so the charges, the costs, don't jeopardize the taxpayers, because normally most of you, or I should say all of us, the taxpayers, are the ones funding this. It's nothing fundamental about it. So keep in mind, we need to get approved estimates that are accurate so that the FBI does not come in here and say, what kind of corruption?
He is not
Oh, I'm sorry.
on this issue.
Say on the issue.
So item number 3, for the record, let's not only keep LA Unified mobile with these devices, but let's keep cost-efficient costs to the taxpayers and those of you who live in Los Angeles.
Okay, thank you. We do have Mr. Englander, but what I'll do, Bob, maybe I'll let you reset this up again, and then we'll go to Mr. Englander.
Yeah, well, the main thing is that we have Mr. Reneker table to walk us through the proposal, so either Mr. Englander can speak before or after, whatever his pleasure is, but we wanted Mr. Reneker to walk us through the
okay.
pieces.
Good morning, sir. Why don't you do that? And then, Mitchell, I'm going to call on you. Yes, sir.
Good morning. What we have in front of you today is really a collaborative effort that came in from multiple city council motions over the years, but with the leadership of Councilman Bob Blumenfield, what we've done is structured an RFP that is going to consider running fiber to every home, business, government entity in the city of Los Angeles, and also as an overlay to that, provide a ubiquitous wireless coverage for all of our citizens. Now, in order to entice vendors to be able to respond and also be able to provide a certain portion of this free for all of our citizens, our Angelinos, and visitors that are coming to Los Angeles, and by the way, the speeds of that we're talking about is somewhere between 2 and 5 meg, because we're respecting the fact that many of the carriers have spent millions of dollars of infrastructure in our city, and we don't want to try to create some level of competitive nature associated with those investments. So with this RFP, in order to entice somebody to go ahead and do this significant amount of build-out, which is estimated somewhere between $3 and $5 billion, is the city of LA, the non-proprietaries, are taking a look at those expenditures that we have already budgeted for, that we're already spending today, and allocating those to a dedicated vendor over a 10-year period of time. So some of those services are things like managing our fiber network that is non-LADWP. Some of those might be our cell expenditures. Some of those might be some managed services for other things that we do. So that, in essence, is the spirit of the RFP. Under the leadership of Councilman Blumenfield, we look forward to providing that draft back to the ITGS for consideration.
Mr. Englander.
Great, thank you very much. I want to thank Bob for bringing this forward. And while the report says that there are a lot of logistics and financial costs and it's complicated, we cannot lose sight of this. In fact, this is probably one of the most important things we could ever do. And why is that? We talk about the most important things in the city of LA being public safety and our infrastructure. Our cyber infrastructure is so important. You think about the world population, 7 billion people. There's only 2 to 3 billion people online right now that have access to the internet. So we have roughly 4 to 5 billion people in the world that have no internet access at all. We've got to change that here in Los Angeles and get everybody online for so many reasons. If you look at what the innovations are happening right now online with things like Khan Academy. Khan Academy, which if those of you who haven't seen it, there was a segment on television about it. There's an individual who came out with training and tutoring and mentoring and teaching people of all backgrounds, of all social classes, free education, a world-class education available for everyone in real time, all the time. My kids use that online. They get training and tutoring and do research. If you think about all the kids, the children that are struggling throughout the city of Los Angeles right now because they don't have money for tutoring. Their parents perhaps don't speak English and can't help them and struggle through their homework. They have a disadvantage. If we can get them online and get everyone online to teach skills and tutoring and training, to provide commerce, to provide that opportunity, it is a privilege. It's a right. It's no longer a privilege to have internet access. And so we have to think big. This is a world-class city. We've got to look at opportunities, perhaps public-private partnerships and strategic opportunities, things we did, for example, at LA World Airports, where we put them online and brought in free Wi-Fi access, created a partnership to allow advertisers or to allow other vendors to take the opportunity to make money by providing it for free. But we've got to create a way to do it. Google's doing it, where they're putting up balloons now in the hemisphere to float them over countries, third world countries that have no internet access at all, because they look at that as a global world changer to provide education and opportunity for those that don't have access. I think we all need to get behind this. It's critically important that we level the playing field and provide this access for everyone in real time, everywhere, and be a true leader in this country. So thank you very much, and I appreciate Bob Blumenfeld's leadership in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Krikorian.
Build out of fiber, which
you
just said.
It does.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I also want to echo Mr. Englander's congratulations of Mr. Blumenfield's leadership. I know when I worked as a colleague of Mr. Blumenfield in the State Assembly, he was a leader on technology issues there, and I know that he's going to make a significant contribution in finally advancing the ball forward for this city in bringing us into the 21st century. So, Mr. Blumenfield, thank you. I appreciate the clarification that you just offered regarding the scope of the RFP, including the potential for a wide build-out of fiber optic infrastructure throughout the city, as well as one possible means for bridging the digital divide and providing high-speed access more broadly to all residents and all businesses. And Mr. Englander spoke eloquently, I think, about the public safety benefits and also the personal and educational benefits that there are in helping to provide our residents with that access and helping to bridge that digital divide, which is going to be the defining issue in social and economic advancement and the development of the middle class in the United States for the foreseeable future. But there's another aspect of this that I think is as important as well, and that's the economic development benefit for the business community. You know, we have talked extensively about many different proposals to attract new businesses to Los Angeles, reforming the business tax, and many other things. Just this last weekend, I talked to a major real estate professional who had just brought a new significant internet business to one of our neighboring cities. And I asked him, what were the elements that went into that siting decision that business made? What were the essential elements that made that business decide to settle in our neighboring city rather than here? And they were two: the availability of contiguous office space, but more importantly, the ready availability of dark fiber capacity that would allow them to have ultra-high speed access to the internet. And I said, where did the business tax figure in this? He said, as long as we have our dark fiber, it's not an issue. So the point being that if we want to be a 21st century with a 21st century economy, we have to deal with our infrastructure and make sure that we have a 21st century communications infrastructure. So I'm very proud to support Mr. Blumenfield's efforts in this regard. The one, I don't know if it's even necessary to offer this as an amendment or if it's already included within the spirit of this, but Mr. Blumenfield, the other aspect of this that I would suggest is that ITA be asked to work with our economic new economic development department, as they're developing their economic strategy, and as we engage the new nonprofit and the department in developing our economic strategy, our jobs development strategy, this is a critical component, I think, of that future strategy. And so I would ask that that the two agencies work in collaboration, and perhaps we can have a report back on the economic development and jobs creation benefits that will be derived from this as well. And then hopefully an action plan once that economic strategy is further refined, when the department is up and running, when the nonprofit is up and running, and that strategy is in place. I'd like to see this information backbone to be an essential element of that as well.
Mr. Labange.
I don't want you to, I want a friendly amendment that anything we do is also blossomed around our libraries. Anything we do is also blossomed around our public schools and our community colleges. Anything we do is blossomed around where the people who don't maybe have a computer in every room. I'm fortunate, my wife Bridget, and our children do have laptops, but not everybody is unfortunate. So want to make sure wherever this is that there's accessibility for those who don't have it. This national discussion, everybody talking about a website, how many people didn't even get to a website but had to go to an office to find out how to find the trail to get the Affordable Care Act. But you understand what I'm saying? So it's a friendly amendment that all public facilities be given a real first step. And even some of our visitor center, where it's Hollywood and Highland on the sidewalk, in front of the Chinese Theater, the Observatory, the Coliseum, anywhere where there's people who gather, Grand Park across the way. You got the picture. Thank you, Mr. Blumenfield.
Mr. Blumenfield, a close?
Yeah, well, it is. The vision for this is to have it ubiquitous throughout Los Angeles, so that you're covering all of the parks, you're covering all the libraries, but you're not stopping there. You have a portable broadband access that's going to get you, if you live out in the mountains, you'll get coverage somehow. It may be a slightly different, maybe 4G if you're in a really tough area, maybe fiber to the home in other areas, and around the libraries they'll have high-speed access. Absolutely. But what's unique about this proposal is it's not just based on starting at the library and starting here. It is a grand vision for how do we really move Los Angeles into the 21st century and have ubiquitous access. And by partnering with the private sector, there are ways to do this that may not cost the taxpayer any money. We have a lot of assets that we can leverage as a city. And that with the right partnerships, we can do this in a way, and there's many different ways to do this. And one of the things I really respect about Mr. Reneker and the way he's putting this together is it's not being put together in a prescriptive manner, saying, bring us your proposals that do X, Y, and Z to get us Wi-Fi. It's not. It's a proposal that's out there that's saying, let 1,000 flowers bloom. Maybe that's the wrong analogy, but it's saying, bring us your innovation. Look at the city's assets. No deal is too small. We want to look at a big vision. We want to partner with the private sector in ways so that we can expand our reach, do much more than we could if we just tried to do this alone. And so this proposal is out there, and I guess on the mic and in public, I want to encourage anyone who's thinking of bidding for this RFP as soon as it does get out there to really think about it and to put out their flag, to put out a bid, to partner with other companies, to partner with the city, to start talking to Mr. Reneker, the ITA agency, about all of the unique possibilities, ways that you might not have thought about. Think about our light posts as a city as an asset that we can leverage. Think about all of the buildings that we have where we can leverage in terms of having access to those sites to help promote. Think about that there can be premium products that piggyback onto the basic product. There can be all sorts of, we're limited only by our imagination. And I know that LA has a lot of imaginative companies and people out there, and that's why I'm excited about this proposal and about the way that ITA is going about it. So I urge your vote for this proposal to help move this RFP forward. I know there'll be a lot of hurdles that we're going to need to cross once this moves forward, because we really are charting a new grounds. But we have a great ITA general manager and agency that's going to help us move through that, and we've had a lot of folks who've expressed interest. So I urge your aye vote, and I thank Mr. Reneker for bringing it forward.
Thank you. Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just wanted to request that Mr. Blumenfield accept as a friendly amendment, I think it's a friendly amendment, that ITA also be instructed to work with the Economic and Workforce Development Department to develop a strategic plan to align our broadband infrastructure investments with the city's economic development objectives. I think that's consistent with the spirit of what you've been describing, Mr. Blumenfield, if that's acceptable.
As long as we're clear that we're not, I don't want to start this on saying, well, we only should start at Silicon Beach because that's where, not that Silicon Beach is not extremely important, because it is, but we don't want to only start here and not here, or because that's where the economic generation is. I think that there's a tremendous leverage we're going to get by trying to do this as an entire city. So looking at the economic development is really important. And seeing how all of the benefits that are there, I accept that amendment as is, but I just want to clarify that it's about reporting on the economic partnerships that we can have and how it's going to raise our city up. It's not about sort of piecemealing this approach.
Right. Thank you.
And if Mr. Reneker wants to comment on that as well, because they've been doing things along that realm as well.
No, makes perfect sense. Some of the timing issues are going to be if the bond measure for the street overlay comes through, we'll want to make sure that we coordinate all the underground assets done in a manner that are consistent and not impede that process.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item, members. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
It's adopted as amended.
Forthwith. All right, Mr. Krikorian, we were going to move on item 19 if you give us the go-ahead on this. It was for closed session.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Budget and Finance considered this matter and concurs with the recommendation of the City Attorney. Unless members have questions or concerns that need to be considered in closed session, we can vote on the recommendation.
All right, let's, Madam Clerk, open the roll.
Excuse me, Mr. President. First, to read the recommendation, it's to authorize the City Attorney to execute the proposed settlement agreement, which includes, among the terms of which include FSX would pay one lump sum of $40,500 to the city, make an in-kind payment of $47,000 in the form of one DPF cleaning package, and be responsible for all future maintenance fees and surcharges paid to the U.S. Patent Office on this patent, among other provisions in the settlement agreement.
Okay, thank you. So let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now we'll move.
Forthwith, please, Mr. President.
Forthwith. We'll move on. We'll go to item 10, called special by cards. In fact, it was Mr. John Walsh. Mr. Walsh, if you please come forward on item 10.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or go jwalshconfidential.wordpress.com. Welcome to everyone watching. Welcome to everybody in the right here in the chambers, and a special welcome to the undercover FBI agents who are in the audience
Mr. President,
right
he
now.
is not talking
Stay
about
on the
this item.
subject, John.
Okay, that's the greeting. Okay, now let's talk about number 10. I'm glad we actually have another African American on the Walk of Fame. They are very, very grossly underrepresented. And as bad as they're underrepresented, the Hispanics are even more grossly underestimated. And I don't think there's more than 4 or 5 Asian American. Well, they're not in show business, I guess. It comes down to the Walk of Fame Trust is racist. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, thank you. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Walsh, come back. We're going to do item 12, and that was called special by you as well. Item number 12.
Item 12, again, is the Hollywood Walk of Fame. This is Mariska Hargitay. Incidentally, she's a Hungarian American. There are more Hungarian Americans on the Hollywood Walk of Fame than there are African Americans. Very much, her father was a longtime resident and small businessman, and widower of Jane Mansfield, Mickey Hargitay. We're in favor of this, but we also want to point out again that this is a state organization. It's a state trust, the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's controlled by Laurent Gubler, a politically correct racist, and I think we should have right now, the Hollywood Walk of Fame should name 20 people of color that will get the award. And if they don't have the money, then, and it's about, what, $50,000 to get a star now? If they don't have the money, I would say that the trust fund has millions of dollars. The stars are in terrible condition. Go out there and look. No one gives a damn about the condition. All Laurent Gubler is interested in is getting his white boy face on television. Go to these things. These are like white citizen council. And people say, John Walsh, you're a white guy. Why do you talk that way? Remember, I am a reincarnated. In my first life, I was black. This is a demotion. I wasn't good enough to come back to Earth as a black man. HollywoodHighland.org. Everybody, all tourists go out there and see the shocking crack, filth, dirty, it's never cleaned, it's the shame of LA, and you're not going to do a damn thing till I get 60 Minutes or somebody else media. HollywoodHighlands.org. You're not going to hear about this from trash like Rick Orloff either.
Come on, listen, Rick Orloff has nothing to do. But, John, stay close because we're going to go to, we're going to go to item 14. So let's prepare to vote on this item. Members, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now we go to item 14, called special by John Walsh. Okay, John, item 14.
3 minutes down, 2 minutes to go. HollywoodHighlands.org. Go there. I'll tell you what's up there later. Okay, and say hi to my FBI friends behind me. Number 14 is concerning pension funding. Now, the angry white guys, it's the union's fault, it's the union's fault, You know, this is the angry white guy, with arthritis, and that aren't reincarnated black men like me. And I like to point out, this is a rating agency regarding pension funding. Everybody deserves their pension. This is one of the best union-run cities in America. Everybody knows about that. Don't blame it on these people who spend their money, their pension check here. Blame it on these people up here with their out-of-town contractors where the money goes God knows where. I've been a union member all my life. HollywoodHighlands.org. Minute 4.
Okay, thank you. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, let's move on to item 11. Mr. Parks.
I pushed my button, evidently it blew up.
I'm sorry about that. Let's, I guess we have to vote on reconsideration if Mr. Parks wants to speak to that subject.
Yeah. I just had 2 or 3 questions, that's all.
Okay, well, then we'll just vote on reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, that item is now before us. Mr. Parks?
Yes. Could we have city staff? I just had a couple of questions to get an explanation of what this report is telling us.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning, actually.
Yeah, I was just wondering, from cutting out some of the legal terms, what is it really telling us in the first paragraph? Is the case, did we win the case, lose the case? Are we in jeopardy? Or because it talks about our going forward on this, and what Moody jumped in, I guess, thought it was a negative as to the case that we're currently pending. So what does it mean to us?
Ben Sahel with the City Administrative Office. Yes, so as you're aware, there's a legal challenge to some of the pension changes that we have done here in the city in regards to retiree health care. So one of those, with regard to one of those cases, there was a writ issued by a judge, and it was a draft. It wasn't the final writ. So when that was published, Moody's jumped on and issued their report, which expressed that this could have negative impact to the city. But it was our view that the impact would be much more limited as far as who the final writ would impact as far as the population is concerned.
Okay, but the issue is that draft was not favorable to us, I assume.
That's correct, and actually I have yet to see the final draft. I believe it's there is one that's been released, but and which is much more limited in scope as far as who it actually impacts.
Okay, and then also, could you give a little more explanation on page 3 where it says negative elements on the funding stat, what that really means to us?
Yes, so as Moody's is looking at the pension liabilities of the different credits that they analyze, and that includes multiple cities and counties and states and actually countries, they've been doing an analysis as to the unfunded liabilities of pensions in cities and counties, and are actually reviewing those in light of not just what the required payment is on a year-by-year basis, but what the full and total unfunded liability is for those cities and counties, and reporting on that as if we would have to be making the payments for the full unfunded liabilities all in 1 year, which is not the case. So it's one of those situations where they fail to also look at some of the positives that we're making as far as prepaying our other pension employment benefits, our OPEBs, and also making our full annual required contribution to the both glaciers and fire and police.
When they come in and call it discount rate, is that the same as a return on investment?
Yes. So we also both systems currently have a 7.75% rate of return as what they assume their actual rate of return. And in this case, in order for Moody's to be able to analyze across the different credits that they analyze, both cities, counties, states, et cetera, they lowered that discount rate to a little bit less than 6%, so 5.67%, which also increased what would be reported as our unfunded liability.
And I think this is what people that are critical of us are saying, that this perpetual 7.7 or 8% is unreachable, which is now they declare as being a deficit as to our fully funding it. I mean, so we debate that back and forth.
That's right. It's something that each of the boards makes a determination on based on the best information provided to them by their actuaries. Okay. And right now it's at 7.75%.
Okay. My final question, it seems as though from reading the last page of your report that we may have misprojected what we thought our overall gains were going to be on the sworn pensions and making the changes. Is that a miscalculation, or was it something that we just didn't achieve what we thought we were?
Well, it's based on the assumptions that we had at the time, and it's also based on the number of the hires that we make. So as we created a new tier, and this is the case for both the sworn now and the civilians, where we've created a new tier. The final savings that we generate is going to be based on how many new employees are on those tiers.
I mean, but the issue, it looks like we're saying we didn't achieve what we thought we were, or was more modest.
Well, there's a number of different factors that, again, it was we won't know until we actually, go through multiple years of experience as to determine what the final savings will be based on prior projections.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Parks. Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now we'll move on to item 11, which was called special by Sean Murphy and constituent. So if you would please come forward. Did you hear me, Mr. Constituent? Yes, Sean.
Yes, this is item 11.
Yes.
A street name of Janis Joplin. I'm for it.
Thank you, Sean.
I want you to come on.
Start is time.
Come on and take it. Take it, baby. Take another little piece of my heart, baby. You know you got it. Come on, child. If it makes you feel good, woo! It makes me feel good. So we're introducing here a sign. Why not? Jim Morrison has a sign, but this is about Janis Joplin, very special woman to those of you who are passionate about music, those of you who can escape the emotions and the frustrations of daily life, hazards, work environment, and go home and chill out to Ms. Janis Joplin's best hits like I do, or we do. So, Ms. Joplin, you'll gain a name thanks to our council, something to add to the state of California once again. We approve the installation, the name of Janis Joplin at 6762 Hollywood Boulevard. And any artists wishing to put a mural there, come out, visit us, Hollywood. And let us not forget, I want you to come on, I want you to come on, and I want you to come on and take it. Take it. Take another little piece of my heart, baby, because you know you got it. Because you make me feel good, Mr. Weezer. Thank you.
All right, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, I think next we're going to go to 15. Mr. Walsh, item 15, called special by John Walsh.
At the last minute, John Walsh, blogging at Hollywood Highlands, HIGHLANDS.org or jwalsh.wordpress.com. This is the most important item up. You know, this concerns, you want us to vote to bail you out. This concerns Budget and Finance Committee relative to the preliminary financial report. This is what you should be talking about. You tell us that next year in November, we're going to have to give you $3 billion just to fix our streets. Well, what? I mean, occasionally we have Mr. Parks, Chief Parks, gets up and asks them embarrassing questions about pension funding. None of you read this, your staff. It's fine, everything. Let it slide through and then ask us to pay $3 billion to bail you out. How many minutes do you think they're going to talk on this issue? HollywoodHighlands.org. 3 minutes most.
Great, thank you. I don't believe we have any other speaker cards, no members on the queue, so we'll go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Great, thank you very much. Next item, please.
Item 13, call special for cards.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Yes.
My understanding is that the two speakers are the applicants and only had filled out cards in case there were questions. So if there's not, I believe that they're okay with waiving the cards. And I'll just go ahead and move approval of the item.
Okay, and that was David and CJ. Go ahead and waive. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Seeing no other speakers on the queue, we'll go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Great, thank you very much. All right, next item, please.
Item 16, call special for cards.
Okay, Sean.
Mr. Vaughn? Yeah, good morning, Pro Chair or Pro Tem. I'm sorry. I'm for this item. Thank you. So I don't fill out my
Great,
last.
thank you very much. Okay, seeing no other members on the queue, we'll go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Great, thank you very much. And where does that take us?
Mr. President, that takes council to general public comment.
Okay, general public comment. Thank you very much. Mr. Constituent, Mr. Herman, followed by Donna Perlman, followed by Sean. Whoever makes it up there, go ahead. Public comment, general public comment.
Okay, anyway, I'm Donna Perriman. Anyway, the San Fernando Valley nearly broke away, succeeded from Los Angeles. They wanted to break away from Los Angeles City Hall. with his dissatisfaction in how they did, how they take care of the valley, and how much we matter to the city hall. We're just a cash cow, and the only reason we did succeed was from the places outside the valley in the city of Los Angeles, because our opinion was so low. The City Hall opinion was so low and our dissatisfaction so high, they gave us easy access to Los Angeles City Hall by giving us a gift of easy access with Van Nuys video conferencing. Later, it was extended to San Pedro. Now, they took away our gift. You are Indian givers. We still do not matter to them. Our voices are silenced. Even some of our elected city valley council members don't care, like Mr. Koretz and Mr. Kokorian, who only counts numbers, not the need. And I will work hard to get him a successor who does care about his districts. Just like gun bans and ammo bans take only away the rights of the law-abiding gun owners, not the criminals, and buses are decided on computer, not on need. The 720 and 20 Wilshire buses have too many buses, stop at Wilshire and Westwood and turn around and go down, and guess what? Go downtown. I was a half hour late to work going to Wilshire and Bundy, about 30 other people screaming that they need to get to work, and a handful of them that are veterans. And employees who need to go over there.
Great.
Anyway.
Thank you very much. Mr. Herman, how are you? Come on up.
For the record, my name is Mr. Herman, advocate. I'm talking about tax credits, corruption, bribery, and scandal. Without the shame, the apathy, the compassion, who believes in rules that apply to them? Some are not even here, like you, Mr. Weezar. Should you distance yourselves from the allegations, or do we endorse such activities, which you, as a lawmakers, and those who have the influence as lawbreakers, these allegations are about corruption and bribery. Another bell, corruption and bribery. When does it end? Why have Democrats and legislators denying they did anything wrong? Liars, liars, Mr. Weezar, liars. You wrongdoers, you misuse public funds. For what benefit? Violations? Look at Mr. Calderon, look at Mr. Flores, Mr. Misaleo, all these state assembly people coming up on the record now. Should lawmakers accept this as wrong at the expense of you, the public? We, the public, we the public are being denied ruthlessness at the expense of the public. Yes, the taxpayers. Where is public trust? This should make your stomach sick as much as it makes my stomach sick. Allegations of sexual harassment. You should resign, Mr. Weezar. You should resign. The tax break proposal, the idea of more affordable and blah, blah, subscriptions and corruption and bribery. Angelino's exchange with City Hall. Pay most of its legal bills after these allegations. The same with Mr. Englander's office. The same thing. We must respect and presume the innocence, yes, of these allegations. But however, you, public, the people, listen. You have to become a distraction to this understanding, Mr. Weezar.
Great. Thank you very much. Sean.
Yeah, this time change is driving people crazy. I go to the Hollywood Christmas Parade every year. I like somebody give me a reply. What day is it? Is it the 24th of November or December 1st? So I can plan ahead. We need our streets cleaned, our sidewalks repaired. Still waiting for the crosswalk. I wonder if we could drop some presentations on Tuesday. I'm tired of sitting through them. Thank you.
Great, thank you. John Walsh. Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon. John Walsh.
How you doing?
As usual.
Excellent.
I'm here since 66, 1966.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
before I was
John
born.
Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Stay tuned. There will be a special tribute to Chris Chabel immediately following public comment. We have a special guest in the audience, Mr. Reese Chabel, her grandson. And we'd like to point out, and also I'd like to say to the FBI agents in the audience, undercover, that you've done a wonderful job. As you know, ask Mr. Weezar. They're all over this building. You know, and if Rocky Patel, the special undercover agent, was here, he would say, I want to thank you very much. I don't really talk this way, but I am pretending because all those dumb Mexican-American politicians took my money and now they're all going to go to jail. I just want you to know that when I am just a regular FBI agent, rather than undercover, I talk like this. But when I am, and incidentally, I tried the black politicians. I tried to fool them. The black politicians, they can spot an FBI undercover agent a mile away. But those dumb Mexican politicians, and I want to thank Al Jazeera in Qatar, in the Arabian Peninsula, because there wasn't one single media access that we could get investigative reporters. The only investigative reporters that gave my name out so I could become very celebrity at the FBI was the Qatar, 7,000 miles away. They are better than any of the reporters here. They have broke Rocky Patel Gate. We like to say we're wonderful, and we have many people. We have one man here. He's not a man. It's a 42-year-old woman disguised as a man who is an undercover FBI agent right here. HollywoodHighlands.org for the truth.
All right, thank you very much. Michael Hubman, good afternoon. How are you?
Hi. Michael Hubman, Right to Share Food Coalition. At Right to Share Food, we believe that sharing food with our brothers and sisters is a fundamental human right. We believe that sharing food is a constitutionally protected activity guaranteed under the Association Clause of the First Amendment of the Constitution. We also believe that sharing food outside and in public is an equally protected activity. You might ask, why do we feel the need to organize and lobby to protect and exercise our right to share food? The answer is that it's a common occurrence in contemporary society for those who are morally and spiritually motivated to want to help others who find themselves in a state of need. Those who desire to come to the aid of the less fortunate brothers and sisters commonly express this aid by sharing food. Conflict occurs when governments, most often municipalities, attempt to effect social engineering by restricting or forbidding the sharing of food on public property, the commons, and even private property. I liken this social engineering by cities to wildlife management. Problem is, we are talking about our human brothers and sisters. I can't speak for these municipal wildlife managers. I can only guess. My guess as to why the sovereign would act in such a selfish and mean-spirited manner is greed. Poverty and homelessness are commonly viewed by some who are not similarly afflicted as messy and unsightly. The sight of homeless and poor people lining up to receive a charitable meal makes it hard to convince oneself and others that all is well in their area of interest. When homeless people gather in public, especially in numbers, they often generate a response by government to harass them with the goal of dispersing them. The dispersing of the homeless to make them less visible robs them of community and society and denies them their right to associate. Harassing people who want to share food and aid the homeless and poor is just another tactic to disperse them and deny them their right to associate.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Daniel Jones.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Jones. You got to remember that Tom LaBonge and Mayor-elect Garcetti's name is on the Meals on Wheels program, and it's Tom LaBonge that wants to sabotage feeding people out in the open, right? Well, as soon as you pass this item, I'm going to arrest Tom LaBonge for feeding somebody. His name's on the side of the van. What, doesn't he love us anymore? All right, this is for all you financial gurus. The purchasing power in this country is about ready to take a big hit because Bernanke, according to the Los Angeles Times, wants to artificially raise the inflation rate. That way the corporations and people can pay down their debt and hire more people. That's false. Why? Because the LA Times said that was Bernanke's idea, number one. Number two, the stock market, according to the Wall Street Journal, is at all-time highs. The manufacturer's index is 54.6%. Manufacturing's going up, stock prices, stock dividends are being paid, they're making money. Well, the justification that Bernanke wants to use is if we artificially raise inflation, they'll make more money and hire more people. Well, there wasn't one corporation mentioned by the LA Times that was even in the article. That's Bernanke's assumption. What that inflation is going to do is going to kill the purchasing power of the people that, well, they're going to kill it first. Everybody in this whole country is going to have to take a hit. For what? Who's going to make the money? The people receiving stock dividends and the corporations. And I can prove that the corporations aren't going to hire anybody. Well, because they're making profit. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Guess what? The unemployment rate went up. Are they hiring anybody? Where's the justification for that? It's false. It's a gimmick. Well, not yet, because it hasn't been condoned by law. The Ponzi scheme was kicked out of the Senate, but did it still destroy people's lives? Yes, it did. The Wi-Fi...
Great, thank you very much. Mr. Bobby Cooper, please. Followed by William Bill Watkins.
I won't give my name, you gave it. I want to say for the record, I would like the FBI, Washington, D.C., and the State Department to look into my allegations. I left here last week, and an attempt was made on my life over the weekend. When I went back, there was a casino bus outside loading up the staff members. All of them were drunk, alcohol, partying, thinking that I'd be dead the next day. When they came on, they were wrong. God let me live another day to be here to talk to you. They have $2,000 of my Social Security money at Longwood Convalescent Facility. They've been cheating the people over there for years. They slapped a black woman yesterday. This was an unlawful, unlicensed employee of Longwood Nursing Home. As I stated, the staff was drunk. They got a guy that's living with me, Quentin Long. They bought electronic equipment to disturb me all hours of the day. They've stolen, I'm an inventor. The same thing that they're marketing, same marketing products they're doing, they're selling over the internet, is my products. You understand? I don't sell pornography over the internet under my business name. Your police officers threaten me, threaten my life. They're in there every day. They threaten my family. My uncle is dead in San Francisco. They were just removing the catheter from his penis. But this is the lawyer, John Allen Goldwyn, that has bought your city and all your police officers. And they're beholden to him because they can't do their job, not after accepting this money. I know this man extensively. You know, I litigated against him in 2 courts and won. And I will not stop. I will use the law as my defense, you know. Last week you interrupted my comment, but it's okay. God told me to come back and tell each one of you that you'll be old as I am one of these days. You'll be as old as I am.
Great, thank you very much. Bill? Followed by our final speaker, Mickey Jackson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name's Bill Watkins with a cold. Sorry about my voice. I know I'm not going to get too much done from this podium, but for the second time and last, I'll just introduce myself, and then I'm going to knock on some doors. I recognize Ms. Martinez, O'Farrell, and Parks. You helped name our city, or our region, Rose Hills, and we're going to get our signs soon, so I'm very grateful, continue to be grateful for that. I have a ministry. I have 2 business cards in my wallet, not with me now, but it's artist and minister. There's just 2 things in my sobriety I've started to do. 11 years sober. The ministry has got me out a little bit, working with LAPD, and the usual. As a minister, won't surprise that I'll look at use of lethal force. I'm going to question it. I'm going to get into it. I'm going to get into. I'm looking at 2 clocks. I was a little concerned. I got 3 seconds, but I'll stay with this clock. Okay, thank you. I'm into misdemeanor law as well, and law enforcement of everything on the books, and not just the things that are prioritized. So I'll be looking forward to working with my district is Huizar's district, and I saw Jose Torres here earlier, and I'm going to continue to work with them on fireworks legislation and get rid of those misdemeanor violations that aren't very highly prioritized in the LAPD often, in the Hollenbeck division. But I believe in enforcing every law that's on the books, or else why have them on the books? So these are things I'm going to be interested in bringing to y'all through email and snail mail and phone calls and knocking on doors. I'm sober. I've got energy when I don't have a cold. And I'm excited to get involved and make this the city. We all wanted to make the city that we want it to be. So I'm going to put in my 2 cents. Thanks. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mickey Jackson. Come on down. How you doing? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. In a little while, a few minutes, we're going to have an honoring, a tribute, a recognition of a very good friend to all of us, Chris Shabell. You know, Chris was gracious. She was so gracious. She was gracious to a lot of us when we didn't really deserve it. I think I'm in that bunch, and I know a lot of city council members have been. She wanted a better life for people, and she did all she could. I mean, I really can't think of Chris holding back on anything. And she was witty and wry. She understood exactly what was going on every minute. Whether she said something or not, she'd have a twinkle in her eye. And I think we'll all miss her. I think the entire city will be poorer because of it. And when she approached you and criticized often, it was well thought out, and it was actually in your own best interests. I can't think of how many times that if the city council had actually listened to this very wise person, they would have had a lot more success and stayed out of a lot of trouble. So I ask you going forward to just think of Chris. Think of her whispering in your ear. Think what she would have thought of what you're doing. You know, she didn't approve of the mess at the Millennium Towers, and she predicted the trouble. Had anyone listened to her, it wouldn't be a problem now. That's just one example. Keep yourselves out of trouble. Keep the city out of trouble. Think of people first. Think of Chris Shabell. That is the very best tribute we could ever give a truly remarkable and very, very humble person.
Thank you very much. That concludes public comment. Where does that take us?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Okay, those motions will be posted and referred.
That clears the desk.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any members have any public announcements? Members for public announcements? Seeing none, if we can all rise for adjourning motions. One announcement. Okay, well, rise for your announcement.
One announcement, and that is this evening from 6 to 8 o'clock, we're having a scoping meeting on the Glassell Park streetscape, which will be on Fletcher Drive. And that project is slated to begin within a couple of months. The address is 3350 Fletcher Drive. It's at Fletcher Drive Elementary School, and I encourage Glassell Park residents and folks who would like to see that area improve, which it will be, to attend the meeting this evening at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Fantastic. No, thank you very much. Okay, looking for adjourning motions. We're going to start with Mr. Bonin.
Colleagues, I rise with a heavy heart and sadness today because of the tragedy that our city suffered last Friday at Los Angeles International Airport. I'm sure all of you have seen about it. We lost a TSA agent on Friday, but he wasn't just a TSA agent. He was a husband, and he was a father, he was an uncle, and he was a brother. His name was Gerardo Hernandez, and he was the youngest in a family of 4 boys who'd emigrated from El Salvador. He would have celebrated his 40th birthday this week. He came to Los Angeles at the age of 15, and he attended Los Angeles High School, and 4 years later he met his wife Ana. They married on Valentine's Day in 1998, and they lived in Porter Ranch with their 2 children. He was a family man, and he was often seen playing with his children outside their home and was a big fan of going to his son's football games on Friday nights. He was incredibly proud of his son and his football skills. Gerardo had worked as a behavior detection specialist security officer for the TSA. He screened passengers and cargo, and he'd been doing that since 2010. He was, his family says, always excited to go to work. He took great pride in his duty serving the American public, and he had a reputation for always having a smile when he greeted passengers. He was the first TSA officer killed in the line of duty since the TSA was created after the terrorist attacks on September 11th. TSA officers are our first line of defense in airport security. Gerardo was a well-trained professional, and he was regarded as a friend and a hero to his colleagues, to his family, and to the members of the public who saw him and his bright smile every day. He's going to be remembered as a dedicated husband and father, and for his service to our country. He's survived by his loving wife, Anna, his son, his daughter, and various other family members. I will make sure that the council is kept posted on service information for him.
Great, thank you very much. And we are incredibly moved by what he has done, not only in the community and with his family and his passing, and the tragic events that led up to that, but as a resident of my district as well, and as a father, it's the first thing you think of is the family, and we'll dedicate this entire meeting to him as well. On Tuesday, and I'll let all the members know, if you could hold your calendar available for Tuesday morning. It appears that that's when we'll have the public ceremony for Gerardo as well, Tuesday morning. So we'll let you know about that as we get more information. LAPD is assisting in putting all the logistics together as well. And so thank you very much for that. Any other members? Mr. Parks?
Thank you very much. I'd ask that we adjourn in memory of Sister Teresa Miranda, who was born in Arizona in December the 11th, 1923, passed away October 21st, 2013 at the age of 89. She served in the convent of the Servant of Mary Ministries for the sick for over 70 years. She entered the convent in April of 1942 when she was just 19 years of age. Besides being an LVN nurse, Sister Teresa loved to play the organ, and she also assisted many people in New Orleans when Katrina hit New Orleans in 2005. Sister Teresa is survived by her sister Socorro Miranda and a host of family members. Just recently in the LA Times, this convent and these sisters were highlighted in the white mass at the cathedral.
Great, thank you. Mr. O'Farrell.
Colleagues, I ask that we adjourn today's meeting in the memory of Chris Chabel. You just heard from Mickey Jackson, who sort of gave a great primer on who Chris was, and I know that my colleagues Paul Krikorian and Tom LaBonge also knew her well, and probably others around this horseshoe. Born in London, England, and raised in Llangollen, North Wales, Chris and her family moved to Southern California in 1975, and soon after settled in Hollywood. Throughout her life, Chris had been one who got involved and provided constructive leadership that brought people together. Her community involvement included membership or board member status with the following organizations in the Hollywood area, including LA Job Corps Community Relations Board, Hollywood Hills Improvement Association, Hollywood Free Clinic, Hollywood Boulevard Community Council, Hollywood Coordinating Council, Hollywood Police Community Relations Committee, Hollywood Women's Club, Hollywood Chapter of the ACLU, Greater Hollywood Civic Association, Hollywood Highlands Democratic Club, and the Hollywood Project Area Committee. As one of the founding members and a board member of the Hollywood Studio District Neighborhood Council, she was very active in fundraising for community programs, including the Holiday Party for Children in Need at Lemon Grove Park. Among being involved with many organizations, boards, and in the community, Chris was the co-host and producer of Neighborhood Point of View, a program well known for debating hot topics in the city of Los Angeles and interviewing top-level politicians and personalities. In 07 and 08, she was voted as one of LA Weekly's People of the Year and was highlighted in their publication. She continued relentlessly to fight to maintain the heritage and history of Hollywood by thwarting development that would diminish the neighborhood. Developments simply did not move forward without Chris's approval, garnering her the nickname the Godmother of Hollywood. Although Chris had major health issues over many years, she continued to remain very active in community issues that affected the quality of life for everyone around her. Chris Chabel passed away this past Saturday, November 2nd. She is survived by daughters Jackie and Patricia, who are with us today, among many friends, including Mary Pat Donovan and others, and grandson Reese Chabel. And I want to thank you, colleagues, for adjourning council in her memory. Thank you.
Well, great, thank you. Seeing no other members, that'll conclude the council meeting. We are adjourned. Thank you.